Hello and welcome to Chaotic Riffs Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.chaoticriffs.com. My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and it's my honor and great pleasure to be speaking with drummer Chris Moore. Chris, I followed you over the last several years. I've interviewed you a number of times on our show, and I even came to see you play once with Smashing Pumpkins tribute. Are you still part of that?
Yeah, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, so that is called The Great Pumpkin, and it is a Smashing Pumpkins kind of cover band, tribute band, and it is just, it's with two of my very, very dear friends, and it's just a blast. So I do that when I can, and, I think you know I moved to upstate New York. So,
yeah, okay, I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
Yeah, so I haven't done anything with them in a while, coming up on a couple of years, but we're talking about doing some more stuff, so yeah, I want to get out and
you know, what's cool about that is, I'm a big supporter of tribute bands, and I always call it like rock and roll theater, because a lot of the bands, besides just doing the music, they really dress the part, and I think what's cool with The Great Pumpkin is, let's be honest, I can't really think of another Smashing Pumpkins tribute out there, so I think you guys really had that going for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was the kind of thing that Karen, the bass player, and then Mike, the guitar player / singer, are two of my best friends, and they were like drinking one night, and they called me up and they were like, "Hey, do you want to do a?" Or maybe they texted me and they're like, we're drinking. You want to do a Smashing Pumpkins tribute band, and we're going to call it The Great Pumpkin? And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'm in. I'm totally in.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and you're one of the best kept secrets. As far as drummers, like I said, I've been following you, and I know you do like a lot of studio sessions. And one of the things you did, just a few years ago, was a project with I think George Lynch and I forget the other guy, but that was a pretty fun project too.
Thanks. Yeah. No, I did two things with George Lynch. I did Project Infidelica, and that was with Angelo.
That's it.
Moore from Fishbone was a singer, and then we had a band called Ultraphonics with Corey Glover from Living Color as the singer, and we did a record called Original Human Music, and that's one of my favorite things I've ever done. Yep.
What's it like working with George? I mean, what I think's fun about him is he's all over the place. I mean, Lynch Mob is kind of more into this other thing where kind of he could just get up on stage and he just does whatever he wants to do. I think that's cool.
Yeah, George. The best way that I could describe George Lynch is one time a friend of mine was putting on a show in Phoenix. And he invited me out, and he just said, "Hey, just come hang out. Don't worry about anything. Just show up, and I'll take care of you." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went out to Phoenix, and he's like, "George Lynch is going to be playing, and it's going to be awesome, and that kind of thing." Yeah. So anyway, I showed up and hanging out, and I was, this was before I ever played with George, and I was, already a fan and all that.
Yeah, of course.
But anyway, George gets on stage, and he starts playing. They play like a song. They're kind of jamming. And then one of the guys in the band, it was like a local band just kind of backing him up.
Wow.
And one of the guys goes up to the microphone and goes, "Can you all hear George?" And they were like, "No!" The crowd's no. Yeah. So George walks back to the, whatever, it was like some, Marshall stack, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And and you see him visibly just kick the volume knob all the way to 11,
okay.
and he proceeded to walk back to the front of the stage, put his foot up on the monitor, and spent about 45 minutes just crushing it. And it was some of the most spectacular guitar playing I've ever seen and heard. And I was like, I remember turning to my buddy at that point, the promoter guy, and I go, "That's why he's George Lynch. Like, that's why this guy is a legend." And it was like, that's what George does best, is you just turn him loose and let him go, and he just crushes it.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. And, I just kind of want to talk about some of those things to give people a little bit on your background so they can know a little bit about you. But we're going to really get into now your current project, which is Vante. First question I got to ask: how did you get involved with this band? Because it's just amazing stuff that is going on with the band.
Yeah, thanks, man. No, you know what? It's just so I've known Scott, the guitar player, for some years, and it was always kind of this, hey, we want to work together sometime, and we had done, I think we did like a charity thing at some point for like Dio's charity. Okay. And then, he kind of came back to me and said, hey, like there were a couple of times where he was like, hey, I've got this thing I'm doing, and I was like on the road and I wasn't able to do anything at the time. And then, during COVID, all the musicians wanted to work and do stuff, and we couldn't do our thing.
Yeah.
So it's like I do so much in the studio that I was like primed and ready, right? Yeah. So anyway, he reached out to me and he said, hey, we're doing this record, this band Vante, and this stuff's really cool, and would you be up for doing a song? And I'm like, yeah, okay. So he sends me the song, and I was like, wow, this is great. This is really cool stuff. And so I did the track, and they kind of came back and said, hey, this is great. Do you want to do another one? And I was like, yeah, okay. And I ended up finishing the record. Wow. And so I think I did something like, 8 or 9 songs or something like that, maybe 10. I can't remember. But anyway, whatever it was, and it was at the time, it started off as kind of like a studio musician thing. Yeah. We did it all remotely. Like the only guy in the band that I've met is Rev. The other, Scott and Brian, I've never met them in person. We've never gotten in a room together and jammed. It was all done remotely, but we just created this vibe of like, sounds like a band, Yeah. And anyway, they're great guys, and they're, it's a really good band. Like, I really look forward to playing live shows with them.
Yeah, and do you remember what that first song was that you guys recorded, or that kind of got you the gig?
Man, I'll tell you. Believe it or not, it may have been "Watch the Sunrise." It may have been the song that's kind of gotten a little bit of attention out there. Yeah,
and what's amazing about that? I mean, for a band that's excuse me for saying this, so relatively unknown or so relatively new. I mean, and like you're saying, you guys, have you even done a live gig yet, or?
Nothing.
See, that's amazing. That's what amazing.
We've never been in the same room together, so I'm really, that's the thing is that there's another band that's a similar situation that's based in New York, New Jersey called Swim the Current that I've been doing some stuff with.
Oh wow!
And it was the same kind of thing where you have to kind of create chemistry without actually playing in the same room together. So whenever I do a track as a studio musician, I really, really, really listen to it. Like I spend time the night before I'm going to record. I listen to that song over and over again. And then when I'm going to the studio, when I'm driving, I'm listening to the song over and over again. So by the time I get there and I start working on it, and usually my process is I'll spend a day on the track just playing through it and working on it and all that. If I get lucky, I'll get a good take of it, but usually the next day is when like second or third take will be the one that I'll get it done. But the point is, like, I'm in that band that day. Like, even if I've never met those guys, even if whatever it is, it's like I'm in your band that day for sure. And so I just immersed myself in it. And these guys, it's just great songs. Really good songwriting, really good vibe. Just everything, just cool. Yeah.
This start out like many things for you, like just maybe initially a recording session. What was the point when no, this is maybe more of a band thing, where it's not just a recording session.
Brian, the singer, and I have a running joke about that because I've always been kind of careful that to not, even though
get attached,
even though I'm not necessarily in the band, there have been a lot of bands that if I'm playing on the record, they're like, our drummer Chris Moore, and not that these guys did that at all. Yeah. It's just, but I'm really careful about that because it's like, well, there are potential, issues that come about from that. And so, but with this, it was just kind of like, as it was going, it just sort of took on a life of its own. And by the end of it, I was like, send me another song. I can't wait to record another song. You know, it was like that. So, you know, somewhere in the middle of it, it wasn't necessarily a particular moment, but Brian and I have this running joke of like, you know, he's like, we're going to do a welcome to the band post, you know, on social media. Like, no, wait, you know, that kind of thing. So anyway, we have this, so I ended up posting a thing for him, and I was like, hey, Brian, welcome to your own band.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, you know, another guy comes to mind, probably a really famous session guy back in the day was Bob Kulick, you know, played for everybody from, you know, Kiss and Lou Reed and Alice Cooper, Diana Ross, and, you know, he's one probably most famous session guys, and you know, you're right up there with somebody like that, Chris, because like I said, you know, Chris Moore is one of those names, especially if you know, you follow people on like Facebook and that it's a name that you maybe have heard, but you know, I've heard the name, but I'm not you know, I'm not sure who that is, but more.
Who's this guy? Yeah.
But you know, it's one of those things, and what's interesting about this project Vante is like starts out as maybe just kind of a recording project for you, and the other guys aren't sure what's going to become of it. But number one, you know, with the few songs you've released, you know, videos for like Watch the Sunrise. I mean, currently that's like number 18 on the Billboard chart, and that's really amazing. Like I said, when you guys haven't even met in a room, met face to face, you haven't even done a live show, and for a band to have a song on Billboard in the top 20, that's quite an achievement.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it, and I think you know, it's one of those kind of things where everything has to sort of line up in the right way, and when it does, it just works, and it's easy, and you kind of, you're my buddy Simon Daniels from Autograph says, you know, when and Simon is one of the best people I know, and he's like, when you're in the flow, it just, you know, that's where you need to be. It just happens, and it's like, man, you know, that's kind of what's going on with this thing. It's just really easy, and you know, it's funny. Like Rev and I have known of each other for a long time because he had played with Michael Schenker Group, and so one of my really, really good friends is Wayne Finley, who played second, you know, rhythm guitar and keyboards for Michael Schenker Group. So they've known each other for a long time, and one of my favorite bands of all time is the band Fuel, and Rev filled in with Fuel when Jeff Abercrombie, the original bass player, was his wife was having a baby.
Wow.
So it's like I've known of Rev, or you know, kind of for the longest time, and so we happened to run into each other at a Sammy Hagar show, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Rev, you know, the whole band, that's the thing, it's a band of really great, talented musicians. Rev Jones, your bandmate you're just speaking of, he first came on my radar maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when his publicist initially, he was putting out a solo album at the time and releasing a video for that, and his publicist sent me like a little press release on the band, and we set up an interview like we're doing today, and come to find out, you know, not only did he play with Michael Schenker, he's a super talented guy. He can write his own songs. He's a lead singer. He can play the bass. He can play the guitar. He can do everything. He's one of those guys, you know. And
no, he totally is, and he wrote some of the stuff on this record that's just like so good, man.
I mean, I dare say that Vante, at least to my ears, is kind of I don't know if you would categorize it, you know, hard rock, metal. I think there's elements of that, maybe a little closer to hard rock. There's elements of you know, pop music, and that's the interesting thing, is trying to categorize what is Vante, because there's different sounds, and to me, even though this is a new band, what's really interesting is when you listen to a band for the first time, trying to think, who do these guys sound like? Who, what does it remind me? And I can honestly say, what you guys got going, I think, at least to my ears, you got a great original sound. You don't sound like every other band that came before you, and I think that's why people are latching onto this.
No, thank you. I think that everybody brings something to the table here, which is exciting. And the other thing that I really respect about the guys and I appreciate is that in doing the drum tracks, they were sort of like, do your thing, you know, just be you on the drums, and you know, if we need anything or we want to change anything, we'll let you know. And they never did. It was like everything I sent them, they were like, this is great, thank you, you know. And it was like when they sent me stuff, it was the same kind of thing. It was like, oh, this is great, thank you, you know. And I think that's a big part of it, is that I appreciate the fact that they were so just open and welcoming to let me do my thing. And I think that gives the music, like, again, what everybody brings is their own thing. And maybe that's because it's so organic, maybe that, you know, has something to do with it. Is, you know, again, it's not this, you know, contrived, overproduced, overthought thing of, you know, it's got to be this and the drums have to be programmed and all this other stuff. It's like, no, man, just let it rip. Just, this is, you know, this is everybody doing their own thing, and it you know, mashes together and it has a sound, and that's what we do.
And it really does seem like that. I mean, if this was like a project, let's say, put together by Brian, and he's like, you know, this is my band, I'm going to write all the songs, you guys are just my hired guns, it would sound like something different, you know, and that's not what this seems to be. And I think, like you said, everybody contributes to the writing, so they bring their influences in. You got a guy like Rev, he can do what he can do, and he's played on all these other projects. He put out great solo music. Same thing with Scott. I mean, you know, Scott, he's got this great band. You know, other than Vante, he's got this band, Breed of Aggression, kind of real a lot closer to metal. They got a female singer, but he writes a lot of that stuff. And then people don't know the guitar player in Vante, Scott McCullen. He also, if you've got the new Tony Martin solo album that came out earlier this year, also on Dark Star Records. He's Tony's, like, you know, guitar shredder on the album, you know, and it's just amazing. You know, he wrote a lot of that stuff with Tony and Tony Martin. What I think is amazing about his album that came out earlier this year on Dark Star Records is, for the first time in that guy's career, I mean, if you can even believe, he was the lead singer of Black Sabbath for several years, you know, in the 80s and the 90s. And I don't think he's ever gotten this kind of response to anything he's done, even when he was in Black Sabbath. And it's just amazing, I guess, when you got a great record company that's really into promoting the bands. You know, they've done a great job.
Well, yeah, and so, okay, so two thoughts. One, yes, Scott is really phenomenal, and there's a couple things, like, as we were doing the record, Scott just got better and better and better. And when he was doing his leads, when he was recording his solos, it was like, I would get these mixes back, and I would actually text him and be like, and there was one point where I called him, and I was like emotional about it, and I was like, man, this just sounds like you just figured out what the song needed exactly, and then played that on the guitar, like, wow, you know. And anyway, but also, in terms of, again, chemistry and all that kind of stuff, this has been something that we had to sort of build long distance.
Yeah. That's what amazing thing about.
Yeah, and it just got, again, like, it just got better and better. And also, one, I guess three things. The third thing is that, yes, you have to have a good, in these days, it's hard to have a record label that would, you know, support a band or have the resources to support a band. And we really do. Like, Dark Star Records, I'm blown away at how supportive they are as to what we're doing. And they're kind of like, I think the vibe is like, yeah, we got a good thing going. Let's do something with this. And it feels really refreshing and just so helpful to have that, because you really have somebody with the right idea going, yeah, man, we're going to, you know, do some stuff. I dig it.
Yeah, you know, besides Tony Martin, you know, of course, great former Black Sabbath singer, another great artist on the label is this band Voodoo Moonshine. I just, for a sec time, interviewed the guitar player Jeff, and they're also a Dark Star Records artist, and that band, very much like you guys, getting a lot of serious attention. And Jeff was telling me they just recently won these awards, and so again, it's just great that you got these new acts. You know, people say rock is dead, but then you got acts like Vante and Voodoo Moonshine that are starting to at least get the recognition they deserve, and people are really listening to it.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. It's been, you know, it's been one of those kind of things where as I said, playing with a band that isn't as, let's say, well known.
Yeah.
But then people grabbing onto it and going, yeah, like, so many people out there have no idea who I am.
Yeah.
And how long and hard I've worked on this stuff.
Yeah.
And, for how many years and all that kind of stuff, and all the sacrifices made. And all of a sudden, it sort of comes through in the music, and you grab onto that. Even if it's just an intangible, you sort of get this feeling of like, wow, this Scott McClellan guy really has a lot of soul in his playing. And, you see the video and you see Rev Jones playing, all kinds of stuff with both hands, upside down and all this other stuff. And it's like, and then you hear Brian's voice, and Brian has this just deeply soulful voice that just, really comes through and just makes this whole thing happen. It's a pretty wild, situation, man. It's cool.
Yeah, and here's the thing with that, as I was telling you as we were getting ready to do the interview today, Chris, before we went on the air, that I've already done an interview with Brian. I posted that on my page. People can check it out. I've done an interview with Scott about Vante, and
cool.
And I'm talking to you today. And part of the reason for that is I'm a guy who always believe, kind of like you've been saying throughout this interview, that every member in any given band has a story to tell. They bring something to the table. And I always, so when I talk to you, you're going to have a slightly different story than the other guys in Vante. Because like you said,
yes.
You're a session guy mostly. You've done a lot of great recording sessions. And so that's kind of your story. And I think with this project, getting the attention it's getting, I think if people don't know who you are now, they're going to start to know who you are.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Matt. No, I appreciate it. And again, I really am grateful to be working with these guys. Brian is like, these guys are all super cool people, and very, humble and down to earth, but yet hardworking and really good at what they do. And it's like Brian, like I said, is this singer who just absolutely just has this storytelling ability that comes through in his singing, and his lyrics are amazing and all that other stuff. But it's just like, again, it's such a pleasure to be a part of something like this, because I've gotten a lot of messages from people, like the impact that it has on them, and I'm kind of blown away. Like, wow, man, that is so cool to hear that. Whatever, you're driving home from work, or you had a horrible day, and you put this on, and it gives you some kind of a cool feeling. It's like, man, that is just.
Yeah, I mean, in prepping for the interview today, I went on YouTube and I was watching the videos, and I think it was the video for Watch the Sunshine. Somebody posted, "Oh yeah, I just ordered my Vante CD from Tower Records. I hope to get it in the mail by tomorrow." So, people are checking it out, and I don't know if it's fair to say that this is an internet band, but I say that because I don't know if you guys weren't all on the internet. I don't know, because are you seeing that you guys are, because this is a top 20 Billboard song now, are you guys being mentioned in Billboard, or are you starting to get higher profile interviews, because I've seen a lot of stuff about the band obviously online, but what's your experience with that?
Yeah, I mean, that is a really good question. I have been getting requests from people and all kinds of things, and some of it's directed at the label and gets forwarded to me, and or people reach out or whatever, and I'm kind of
overwhelmed.
I'm going with the flow, man. That's all I can do.
Hey, that's a great segue, because the other video I was watching today, that I was seeing for the first time, Going with the Flow, and I tell you, again, just a great song in its own right, but I kind of love the groove of that song. Got a nice beat. I mean, and it's totally a different song than Watch the Sunrise. And what I mean by that, they're two totally different type of songs, and yet they're both on the same album, and I think that's what makes this such a great album.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I'm again just super proud of what we've been able to accomplish, and grateful to be part of it.
And so, what are your? what are your thoughts as far as you said you hope to get together with the band eventually, do some live shows? You think that may happen first before you even start thinking about recording some new music? Because I imagine you'd be working this album for a while.
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny because Scott and Brian both are like texting me going, I'm working on a new song. I already got,
yeah.
We're working on the second record, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So my thing is, again, I'm like, you know where to find me.
I'm along for a ride. Yeah.
But I believe that we would be a really good live band. I just know it. I just know it. And so there's been some talk, and people are like, somebody said something about, that there was somebody reached out and wanted us to play at like the Whiskey in Hollywood and stuff. And I was like, yeah, man, fly me out there. I'll go. I'll do it.
Yeah.
But the idea of us, going on tour, so to speak, that's a long ways off. I would imagine that we would do
select dates,
fly dates, where we fly somewhere and play in a given area for a few nights and then come home and go back out, how many ever days later. We'd probably do something like that to start.
Hey, that would
because it just would have to make sense.
That would be a cool gig, but Whiskey. I mean, being here from LA myself, I mean, that's definitely a gig I would go see if you guys were to play that. I mean, and it's kind of cool too, because here in LA, like a lot of places with all this COVID stuff the last 3 years, the Whiskey is one of those places that really came close to, closing down. We had a governor here that even got on TV. I may, close down all the movie theaters. We may close down the entertainment industry, and luckily it didn't come to that, but it came real close,
I'll tell you something. That is one thing, honestly, that if I may be so bold, that I really appreciate about. And I'm a music fan. I go out to shows. I go see concerts and stuff. I really think that there is so much more appreciation and gratitude for live music performed by actual musicians on stage, and not just some random dude with a laptop and a light show with pyro up there, doing a, thing. It's like people want to go see actual musicians play on stage and really play their parts and all that stuff. And it's like, I'm really, really psyched about the future of the music business, seeing that.
And so talk about the 2 videos you guys have done so far. Great looking videos. I urge people to go on, YouTube and check them out. Great videos. But to me, like, again, not just the musicianship, but the quality of the videos. I mean, it looks like something you would have seen on MTV back in and I imagine you guys weren't even in the same room, just kind of did your shots. How did that all come apart?
My studio is set up to record. Like I have my drum kit mic'd up, so I can record drum tracks any day, anytime. And then I also have it set up so I can film in there. Brian had reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to, you want to do a video for Watch the Sunrise?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally." So I filmed, I practiced it and really filmed my footage because I want to play it in the video just like I played it on the record. So I did that. And then that had gotten a really good response. So they said, "Hey, do you want to do Going with the Flow?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course, love to." So we're gonna do more of that. And but it was just everything. Everybody filmed their own stuff.
That's cool though. Yeah, it's quality, top notch.
Because a lot of this, as I said, was still done during COVID. So then everything got edited together. But I actually really like the idea of doing stuff in my own studio. Because I can really work out my stuff, and there's not a bunch of people around and a bunch of stuff going on. I can really just focus in on what I want to do and get it just right. So
any event, top-notch stuff,
That's the perfectionist in me.
Well, it works because you guys are getting this kind of attention, and I think too, besides the musicianship and the talent in the band, I mean, it's kind of I think what I love about this fact when I say you guys are kind of an internet band. Don't take that the wrong way. What I mean is like this isn't something that was kind of like something you'd see on American Idol where we're gonna have somebody write the songs for you and we're gonna tell you what to do. We're gonna plan out your success. This is just something kind of natural. 4 guys getting together, putting together a great record, and fans just kind of reacting to it.
Yeah, no, thanks. And it is. It's totally organic. It's not there's nothing contrived about it or any of that. It's just, this is what we do, and it works, and so, and not that there's anything wrong with that other kind of stuff. It's just that this is what we do, and this is like what we know, and you play your instrument and record it or film it or whatever, and people grab onto it, and it's like, yeah, this is cool. So we're super excited.
I mean, it's just to see how people are reacting to this band. To me, it's exciting because it's not even like back in the day, and you're getting your video played on MTV, and that's how people are discovering the band. It's you guys are on Billboard, so you must be all over radio now, but people are just kind of discovering the band on their own. And I think, some of the greatest bands in history got their start that way, just fans kind of taking notice.
Yeah, thank you. That part of it, honestly, is probably the best thing about this whole band, is that there's kind of this word of mouth element that's happening, and people are discovering the songs and the videos and all that. And I think that will be really exciting when we get to a live performance stage in this, that it's going to be like such a cool thing to get on stage with these guys and rock it out, but it will be not because somebody made some investment or something, but just because we actually did this. Like, this came from the heart.
And very much like you're saying about you're kind of maybe the best kept secret. I think you could say the same thing about the singer Brian. I mean, and what I mean by that is I know he's done other things before this, but he's also got a great voice, and when I listen to his vocals on the record, I'm like, man, this guy has got his own sound. He sounds like no other singer out there. I don't know if that's something he's trying to do, but he's got that gift.
No, he really does, and that's what I was talking about earlier. It's like he has this deeply soulful voice, and he just absolutely makes magic happen. Yep.
Yeah, and final question I want to ask you, Chris, before I let you go, is let's talk about some of your influences as far as, you can start off some of the bands that influenced you, or even the drummers that really kind of, your drum heroes that inspired you to kind of pick up the sticks and do what you're doing.
Oh, man. Well, that is a loaded question, my friend. No, it's been a journey, because as a kid, of course, I was the, Kiss fan, Peter Criss, and all that stuff.
Wow.
And then, Van Halen, Alex Van Halen, of course, and then really Neil Peart and John Bonham were probably my 2 biggest influences along the way. And then, but as time has gone on, Gary Husband, who had played with Level 42.
Oh, wow.
One of my all-time favorite drummers. And then there's a guy named Shane Golis from Canada who had played with Michael Schenker Group and Yngwie.
Oh, wow.
And then he's done a bunch of stuff. He plays with Jeff Coleman, and they have a band called Cosmo Squad that's unbelievable.
Oh, sure. I've heard of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And then, and then Matt Halpern from Periphery, and Jason Bittner, Shadows, and Overkill.
Wow. Yeah.
And then, Matt Gartsket from Animals as Leaders, and Benny Greb, and all these guys. It's just like, there are so many good drummers out there now.
I think, Chris, that is a huge list. But what I love about your list of influences there is it is such a diverse list, and I think maybe that's why you're such a sought out session guy. Because I'd imagine maybe you get a gig where they want you to play something a little more jazzy than what you typically do. You say, yeah, I can do that.
Well, it's kind of like whatever comes in the door, I'll take it.
Yeah,
and if it works, then hey, great. That's kind of how I do it.
And then, I'm a huge Kiss fan, so I got to ask you, since you cited Peter Criss in that list, can you even, what's one of your favorite Kiss albums, or especially a Kiss album, Peter Criss? What would you say is his?
Well, okay. Okay, so Kiss. So I will tell you this. So my brother, when we were kids, my brother brought home Kiss Alive,
Wow.
and of course that was all I listened to.
Yeah.
And but so Kiss Destroyer came out, and I was, this kid, and I was completely just enamored with that. But excuse me. But the whole thing was, and this is why Kiss Destroyer is my favorite record, was that it's such a toss up between that and Kiss Alive. But anyway, I actually went to my first concert was Kiss Destroyer tour at Anaheim Stadium.
Oh wow, a legendary gig.
And I was this little kid.
I imagine.
And it was it was life changing. It was the most amazing thing I've ever been to. I just couldn't believe. You got my heroes in front of 50,000 people or whatever, and it was a perfect August night and just unreal.
And I know Peter and Ace aren't in Kiss anymore, but do you have any plans to see Kiss on the farewell tour or the end of the road?
Oh man, we'll see. If they come to upstate New York, I might. But I'm actually going to 3 concerts next week.
Oh wow!
I'm super excited about it at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center, which is kind of this indoor-outdoor. It's like an amphitheater.
Oh, sounds fun.
It has a lawn, but it's covered, so it's amazing. But anyway, the amphitheater part holds about 5,000 people, and then the lawn holds like another 20,000. So it's this small, like intimate but huge venue. And I've seen Alanis there, and I saw Train there, and then Hall & Oates and stuff like that. Wow. But anyway, next week I'm going to see that Styx and REO and Loverboy tour, and because Todd is one of my favorite drummers. That's another huge influence.
Great band.
And then I'm going to see, believe it or not, the Temptations and the Beach Boys, and then Goo Goo Dolls.
Well, I mean, again, your influences are all over the place, but even Temptations, that's another band, different type of band, but great songs. And I think it's only got one. They've got one original guy, but you know what? You got to give him credit for he's still doing it.
Well, and the truth is, man, when it gets to that level, it's just you're going for the songs. You're going to just sit there and go, "Wow, this is awesome."
I mean, I can just name them. Ain't Too Proud to Beg, My Girl. I mean, at that point, a band's been very much like Kiss. A band at that point's been around that many years. It's at the point where those songs mean something to so many people. It's a soundtrack to it. That's why even Brian and Roger is still able to go out with Adam Lambert as Queen, and it's I never would have thought that Freddie Mercury could be replaced. Not that he's replaced, but those songs mean so much to so many people that if you get a decent enough singer that's enough like Freddie, that people want to hear those songs, And
no, totally. I'll tell you something, man. September 10th, I'm going to see Elton John.
Oh wow!
In Syracuse, and it's because I know it's going to be the last chance I'll have to see him.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to see him, and I know that it's super emotional because
it'll be the last
those
time.
songs.
Yeah. Yellow Brick Road. I mean, all that. And before I let you go, Chris, I think I shared this with you. I'm a huge Kiss fan, so. I have this other, for the same site, another show we do called On the Record. I want to invite you back, and I'll let you think about it. When we do that, maybe if you want to do an interview specifically talking about Kiss Alive or Destroyer, you kind of think about it. When I reach out to you again, we can do that. I mean, Destroyer just turned like 45 years old, and did you get a chance to get the reissue they put out like last year, like an anniversary thing? They got cool like bonus tracks on it.
You know what? I saw it, and I haven't gotten it, but yeah, I'll probably end up doing that. I will tell you what, is your On the Record thing, is that open to anything? Or is it just specifically more toward Kiss?
No. I was giving you that offer, but really, it's anything you want to talk about. And what it is it's kind of like, so you kind of, you pick the album and the band, you tell me what album you want to discuss, and we'll discuss in detail. You tell me, what you think of the drummer, what you think of the guitar player, what you think of overall performance, your favorite songs, whatever you want to talk about. But it's like in detail about that album. So it doesn't have to be about Kiss, but you think about it.
I can tell you right now, and I will take you up on this offer, and we will totally do this. And I'll tell you what it is. want to talk about Van Halen Fair Warning.
Cool.
And the reason is my first band. I was in a band called Rampage in Pasadena with Michael Anthony's little brother.
Oh, wow.
And I went to the 80 Invasion rehearsals, the Women and Children First tour, and then I went the following year, I went to the Fair Warning rehearsals. So I heard, because he was my best friend, so we would, Mike would bring home the studio tapes.
Oh, wow.
As they were recording. So I heard Fair Warning before anybody else heard it. I heard it before there were any vocals on it. I heard Sinner's Swing where Ed fucked up the solo going into the solo, and they redid it. But I heard the original version where they didn't have, it was the mistake, so to speak. All that, and then at the Fair Warning rehearsals, I sat on a flight case next to Valerie Bertinelli and watched them play the whole show.
Oh, wow. I would love that. And that's probably Van Halen's heaviest album they ever did, and I know that was Eddie's favorite album. So, we will make a point of doing that. I'll reach out to you in about a month from now, and we can set that up.
Chaotic Riffs Magazine